Welcome. I invite you to subscribe, like, and share this story. We really appreciate your support. Enjoy the journey. My wife and I got married in 2001, which means that our marriage has now crossed the 20-year mark. I must admit that we both experienced significant difficulties in our relationship. Finding solutions turned out to be a difficult task, even with the help of family counseling, which did not bring any positive results. For the most part, our marriage was distant, devoid of intimacy and affection. Despite this, we have successfully raised two wonderful children who have since moved and are currently studying at a college in the regional capital. They keep in close contact with us, often sharing their thoughts and experiences. Although I suspect they may be aware of our struggle, we rarely argued in their presence, leaving me unsure of their true point of view. Throughout our journey, I remained faithful to my wife, never doubting her loyalty. My wife's father recently passed away, which prompted her to travel to her hometown often since last year to take care of her mother and sister. She usually visits them sometime between July and early August. On September 16, I contacted our telecom operator to report the unsatisfactory service we received at home. During the conversation, I mentioned missed calls and text messages related to all four family members. The representative advised me to review the history of our calls and messages to determine the exact cases. Consequently, I started to study my wife's call and message log. On the 15th, she received a call from an unfamiliar area code which lasted 76 minutes while I was in bed. The next day, there was a significant exchange of messages with the same number. That weekend, on the 17th, my children and I visited her hometown. I checked her messages again, finding another series of interactions on that particular day. My curiosity led me to Google the phone number, as a result of which I was able to identify its owner and some related history. Communication continued throughout the weekend, and on Sunday, my wife dropped me and the children off at the airport around 4:15 p.m. Interested in her plans for the evening, I asked, and she mentioned that she was having dinner with an old friend. Looking back, I remember that I was skeptical of her response and decided to review her message history. Shortly after 4:15 p.m. she exchanged several messages with the same phone number, but with no contact woman. It became obvious that she had deceived me. The messages stopped around 6:25 p.m. and resumed again around 10 p.m. As the days passed, the frequency of their communication increased significantly. I soon realized that I was witnessing the development of a new relationship. While participating in some investigation, I discovered additional information about this person, including his place of residence and work. I have also examined our call logs to the extent permitted by the service provider. In July, I noticed two cases where there was a flurry of messages with the same number, although not as often as during the week I mentioned earlier. By this point, I found out that the person in question grew up in the same city as my wife. To put it mildly, I was full of anger and despair. I've never experienced such overwhelming emotions. During that week, we had several telephone conversations during which we had meaningful discussions. I was overcome with excitement and tried my best to hide it from my wife, hoping she wouldn't notice. The week was marked by an intense exchange of messages that took place in the morning, afternoon, and even at night. On Friday evening, we had a lengthy conversation that lasted about 90 minutes. After we hung up, I checked her call log only to discover that she had been texting to another number during the last 45 minutes of our conversation. Despair seized me again, and I made several attempts to call this number but received no response. After about 45 minutes, she called back saying that her mother was in trouble and needed her immediate attention. After reviewing the call log again, I noticed that she had been talking to the same person for 43 minutes. She lied again. Saturday came and my wife came home. I have never experienced such fear and emotional shock. She also exchanged a lot of messages with him that day. In the evening, I met her at the airport, and when I got home, I lit a fireplace and met her face to face. "Who are you in a relationship with?" I asked without hesitation. To my surprise, she immediately confessed to lying. I was stunned that my suspicions were almost completely correct. I have an intuition that I trust with all my heart. The evening was extremely difficult as my wife confessed everything. That Sunday, after saying goodbye to us and the children, she had dinner with him. They hugged and kissed. He was an old boyfriend from the 90s with whom she lived for 3 months. However, she ended the relationship because of his ill will and probable infidelity. They reunited in July when they had lunch together, and the next morning had coffee in his hometown. He came to visit after the death of his father. Currently, he no longer resides in his city. It's been 25 years since his wife last saw him or spoke to him. He is divorced and currently in a family partnership with another woman who has children. Since that Saturday, I have been bombarding my wife with countless questions, and she has given answers to every one of them. She mentioned that a significant part of their communication took place through the Telegram messenger, implying that the messages I observed were only part of their contact since July. As far as I can tell, she hasn't had any contact with him since that Sunday when she called me. When she returned to her city, she called me and assured me that she would sever all ties with him. In addition, she gave me full access to her phone and computer. For the first time in our marriage, it seems to me that we can discuss anything without quarreling, creating an atmosphere of great honesty and understanding. We both share the belief that this ordeal has unexpectedly brought us closer together, contrary to our initial relationship. Given our history, divorce seemed like the only acceptable option. My wife admits her infidelity, never accusing me of any wrongdoing and fully accepting responsibility for her deception. However, I made a few mistakes that continue to bother me. I wasn't able to read their messenger messages before she deleted them all. Moreover, I was not present at her last call to inform him that their relationship was over. The uncertainty due to the fact that I do not know the nature of their connection weighs heavily on me. I crave proof that my wife intends to move our marriage forward and does not intend to put up with it. On the contrary, I hope to rebuild our relationship on a different foundation. However, I'm not sure how to approach my desire to see these messages in the messengers. Do I really need to read them? I find myself feeling confused. You don't need to take into account any of what I'll post below if you don't want to. I read this at a moderate pace, and I had a strong suspicion that your spouse and her former lover had moved from kissing to a full-fledged physical relationship. She started by admitting to her lies, but she only admitted to what you have already discovered. This is a common tactic used by cheaters. They often avoid confessions until they come face to face, and even then they reveal only what you already know. Was it just a one-time kiss? Perhaps this was their first meeting. However, it is obvious that they met repeatedly. The story of a one-time kiss is a frequently used lie that makes me feel sick. Why? We just want to believe in anything to ease the pain and weakness in our intestines. Some of those who really cheat have no intention of ever abandoning their partner. They just want to do something and they get away with it. I think that in your case, one of the two of them wants just that. Yes, your wife really loves you and really wants to stay with you. But she put all that aside for a while when she met him. It was the revival of some old thing at an auspicious time. If we look at this situation from the point of view of motive, means, and opportunities, then she hit the jackpot. The story of a single kiss is always a complete fiction. Those who understand such issues know that adults quickly move from kissing to full-fledged sexual contacts. A kiss is a catalyst that ignites their desires. After so many years, they reunited, started dating, shared food, drinks, and enjoyed each other's company. Remember in the past, at this point, any form of kiss becomes a trigger that ignites their mind. Moreover, you yourself mentioned at the beginning of the story that there was a lack of intimacy and love in your marriage. I sincerely believe that your wife is a good person and a good woman, and it was a one-time mistake that she shouldn't have made, but she did. I sincerely believe she won't do it again. Many may disagree with this last statement because we all perceive such situations differently. I understand the complexities involved, and I know when certain solutions can work and when they can't. In most cases, I would advise seeking a divorce. However, in your situation, your fault for what happened is as obvious as hers. You have a wonderful opportunity to express to your wife that you are on her side and your feelings for her have not decreased. The only thing, please make sure that you will be able to eliminate your anxiety and your stomach will not cramp. Please deal with yourself. If you cannot forgive the fact of physical infidelity, then it is better to immediately terminate the relationship. Dear friends, what do you think? Do you agree with me? If not, write your thoughts and tips in the comments. And yes, I will remind you that all these stories are real. If you want to share your story, write to the mail. And do not be afraid, all anonymously. At will, the names of the heroes are used template, the end. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.